I knew something was wrong the second I stepped into the Austin Grandview Hotel ballroom. But the truth is, the night had already begun to unravel long before I walked through those doors. It started the moment my sister Ava turned toward the crowd, lifted her champagne glass, and said loudly enough for the entire engagement party to hear, "Everyone, come meet my fiancé. He's a real businessman, not like my sister who just types." She pointed at me then, dead center, under the chandelier light, like I was some stage prop she wanted to mock in front of 200 people. People laughed, cameras flashed, wine glasses clinked, and in that glittering room full of polite society smiles, I felt my face burn with the kind of humiliation that doesn't just sting, it brands itself into your bones. But that wasn't the part that froze the room. What silenced everyone was what happened next. Ava's fiancé Liam lifted his head, saw me standing there in my navy evening dress, and went completely still. His expression shifted so fast it was almost frightening. His hand dropped. His jaw tightened. Then he stood, chair scraping the polished floor, with the rigid, controlled posture of a man who'd just spotted something impossible. "Ms. Morgan?" he breathed. My sister blinked. "Huh? Who?" But Liam didn't look at her. He looked straight at me, eyes wide, stunned, as if a ghost had walked into the room. Then, in front of Ava, her friends, her in-laws, and every relative desperate to impress one another, he straightened and saluted, and the entire ballroom gasped. Hours earlier, before the humiliation, before the reveal, before I realized my own family would gladly throw me into traffic if it meant Ava got to bask in more attention, I was sitting at my desk at Sentinel Net headquarters, running on 72 minutes of sleep and an IV drip of black coffee. My brain felt like a tangled mess of neural networks after a 36-hour coding marathon. My body wanted bed. My calendar wanted blood. And in between the stress tests, debugging loops, and last-minute technical reviews for tomorrow's $8 million contract meeting, I kept catching myself staring at the clock on my monitor. Ava's engagement party. Just the thought made my stomach twist. I closed my laptop with a shaky exhale and rubbed my temples. The office lights were dim. Most of my engineering team had already left. Only the soft hum of servers filled the silence. I stood, stretched my aching back, and told myself for the 20th time that day that I could handle this. I'd survived worse. Corporate sabotage attempts, malicious AI attacks on our prototype, even a venture capitalist who tried to steal my algorithm. But nothing in my career had ever exhausted me like my family. My phone buzzed violently against the desk. "Ava, don't forget the cake, the 3-tiered one, and don't let the frosting shift this time." Before I could react, another message. "Ava, and you better not be late. Liam hates people without a sense of professionalism." Then another. "Ava, actually, can you transfer the deposit for the add-on venue decor? My card keeps declining." Then from my mother. "Mom, make sure you dress appropriately. No tech clothes. This is a real event." My throat tightened. The way she said real, as if everything I'd built, my company, my algorithms, my team, was imaginary, as if I spent my days juggling crayons instead of negotiating with national cybersecurity agencies. I shoved the phone into my bag and left my office before more messages could pour in. The elevator dinged softly as I stepped inside, leaning against the mirrored wall. I looked at my reflection. Dark circles, stiff posture, a face too familiar with responsibility and too unfamiliar with kindness. By the time I reached the parking garage, I had 12 missed notifications. By the time I pulled out of the building, I had 19. Somewhere along I-35 in stop-and-go traffic, my exhaustion won. I pulled onto the shoulder and rested my forehead against the steering wheel. The metal felt cool against my overheated skin. My heartbeat pulsed behind my eyes. I whispered into the empty car, "Just one night. You can get through one night." But deep down, a different voice whispered back, "No, you can't. Not anymore." Because the truth was this: I wasn't just tired, I was depleted, burned out, hollowed, and every message from Ava was a reminder of the role my family had carved for me long before I learned my first coding language. Claire the responsible one, Claire the reliable one, Claire the fixer, the buffer, the walking bailout plan, Claire the emotional punching bag, Claire the family ATM disguised as a daughter. When traffic cleared and I finally arrived at the hotel, I sat in the parking lot staring at the glowing entrance for nearly a full minute. Couples in evening attire passed by, smiling and holding hands. A valet opened car doors with polite efficiency. Inside, I could already hear the muffled thump of music and laughter. None of it felt like it belonged to me. I stepped out of the car, smoothed the front of my dress, and whispered to myself again, "Just one night." But the universe wasn't finished with me. The moment I entered the lobby, a photographer stopped Ava and Liam for pictures. Ava looked breathtaking in her crystal-studded champagne gown, all glossy hair and practiced pageant smile. My mother hovered nearby, fussing over a curl that had dared fall out of place. When Ava spotted me, her painted smile twitched. "Oh," she said loudly, waving the photographer aside. "You made it. I wasn't sure you'd leave your little office early." The photographer laughed politely. So did the small cluster of bridesmaids surrounding her. I felt my spine stiffen. "I told you I'd be here," I said softly. Ava's eyes flicked over my dress, the one I spent half my savings on because I knew she'd judge anything less. "Next time," she murmured, "try something more fitted. This looks very, I have a day job." My mother chimed in with a tight smile. "Couldn't you at least have curled your hair, Claire? This is an important night." "Her night," Ava corrected. "Yes, her night," my mother repeated. I swallowed whatever sting rose in my throat. "Congratulations," I said, handing Ava the gift bag. She didn't take it. "Just set it on the table," she said, already turning to her friends. "I'll look at it later." The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, golden table runners, live string quartet. Guests buzzed with excitement, laughing, praising the decor, admiring each detail. I scanned the room for my seat, of course. I was placed near the back, beside a pillar and dangerously close to the swinging doors where servers carried trays in and out. Not near family, not near Liam's relatives, not near anyone important. Just tucked away, out of sight, out of mind. I took my seat quietly, folded my hands in my lap, and tried to breathe. But across the room, Liam kept glancing at me. At first it seemed like nothing, simple curiosity. But after the fourth time our eyes met, I began to wonder if he recognized me, which was impossible. We'd never met. At least not formally. Unless his company had attended the same closed-door conferences SentinelNet had presented at. Unless he'd read the briefing packets his CFO forwarded. Unless he had seen the early-stage approval documents with my signature. Unless he'd been informed about tomorrow morning's contract meeting, the one with SentinelNet's CEO. Me. A server leaned down to offer wine. I accepted, more out of needing something to hold than wanting to drink. Then it happened. The reason this chapter, the one I'm telling you now, will forever divide my life into before and after. Ava tapped a fork against her champagne glass, commanding the room. "Everyone," she announced, "let me introduce the love of my life, Liam, a real businessman." Laughter and applause. I smiled politely for her sake. Then Ava pointed straight at me. "And this is my sister Claire," she said sweetly. "She just types." The ballroom erupted in laughter, polite, uncomfortable, confused, amused. I felt my heart thump hard against my ribs, but I forced myself to sit still. I'd survived far worse humiliations from this family. I lifted my wineglass to my lips to hide the flush in my cheeks. That's when Liam looked at me. Really looked. His eyes widened, his expression sharpened. Then, with a slow, measured precision that felt downright military, he placed his glass on the table, pushed his chair back, and stood. A hush swept the room. He walked toward me, each step deliberate. Ava blinked in confusion. "Liam? What are you—" He wasn't listening. When he reached me, he drew in a breath, squared his shoulders, and saluted. The entire room went dead silent. My sister's manicured mouth fell open. People turned in their seats. Waiters froze mid-step. Even the string quartet faltered, one violinist dragging his bow across the wrong note. "Good evening, Ms. Morgan," Liam said, voice low, reverent, stunned. Ava staggered. Ms. Morgan? What? Liam, what is going on?" Liam didn't break eye contact with me. "Oh my God," he whispered. "What are you doing here?" I felt a knot tighten in my throat, part dread, part exhaustion, part inevitability, because whatever happened next was going to change everything. I rested my forehead against the steering wheel, the vibration of passing cars humming through the frame of my aging sedan. The AC blasted cold air across the back of my neck, but it did nothing to soothe the pounding behind my eyes. My entire body felt like a frayed wire sparking at both ends, overworked, overtired, and one good push away from snapping entirely. 36 hours of debugging, testing, rewriting code, fixing UI failures, and preparing the SentinelNet contract packet. And now, instead of sleeping, instead of collapsing into the comfort of my apartment for even a few precious hours, I was stuck on I-35 traffic, inching forward toward a night I already knew would drain me more than the last 36 hours of work combined. Ava's engagement party, she hadn't asked if I could make it. She hadn't asked if I was okay. She hadn't asked anything at all. She simply sent orders. My phone, still connected to the car's Bluetooth, buzzed again. Once, twice, then in rapid machine gun bursts. Ding, 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 ding. I closed my eyes. Please, not now. From Mom. "Don't forget to stop by the bakery for Ava's cake. They said the frosting is delicate. Be responsible, Claire." From Ava. "You better not be late. Liam hates unprofessional people. Don't embarrass me tonight." Another message, seconds later. Ava. "And transfer the remaining deposit for the decor." My card declined again. "I'll pay you back next week." She had said, "I'll pay you back next week" for 7 straight years. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Traffic crawled another 3 feet, just enough to make the brake pedal squeak under my foot. It wasn't the money that bothered me anymore. It was the entitlement, the assumption that my time, my paycheck, my energy, my entire life somehow belonged to her. Not one message said, "Hey Claire, how was work? Are you exhausted? Do you need help?" Nobody asked those questions. They never did. I let out a breath that shook in my chest. The tightness there had been building all day, all week, hell, all year. But tonight, it felt heavier. I pulled the car onto the shoulder, needing a moment to breathe. Cars zoomed past, the whoosh of air rocking my vehicle. In the glare of brake lights and freeway fumes, memories rose, sharp, unwelcome, uninvited. I was 12 the first time I realized my place in the family. Ava was 10, the golden child, with ribbons and glitter and every spotlight tilted her way. I was the quiet one who liked computers. Back then, our parents didn't understand what coding competitions were. They thought I was playing games. I remembered winning a statewide robotics award. First place. I brought the trophy home, heart thumping with pride. Ava frowned at it. "It's ugly." Mom nodded. "Claire, honey, don't leave it on the table. Your sister's guests will be here later. We don't want to make her feel overshadowed." My trophy was placed in a closet that same afternoon. I looked down at my hands now. Steady, trained, precise. Hands that wrote algorithms used in high-level cybersecurity briefings. Hands that held patents. Hands that built a company from scratch. Hands my family only saw when they needed to grab money from them. My phone buzzed again. "Ava, you didn't answer. Are you getting the cake?" I typed a reply, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. The anger bubbled under my skin like a slow burn. Then another memory came, uninvited. 16 years old. My first job at the bookstore in the mall. I saved every single paycheck to buy myself a refurbished laptop. It was old, scratched, and ran hotter than a toaster, but it was mine. I spent months dreaming of building programs with it. The day I brought it home, my father took the box right out of my hands. "Perfect," he said. "Ava needs a laptop for her school project." "She has a new tablet," I protested. "That's different," he snapped. "This is more professional. You're the responsible one. Take the bus to the library if you need a computer so badly." Ava never did any project on it. She used it to take selfies and upload videos with glitter filters. 2 weeks later, she spilled orange soda on the keyboard. The laptop died that night. They didn't replace it. They didn't apologize. They barely remembered it happened. The tightness in my chest deepened. Sitting on the shoulder of I-35, in the middle of rush hour, I pressed the heel of my hand against my sternum, trying to breathe through the ache. I thought of college next, of working 2 campus jobs, tutoring calculus and shelving textbooks, to pay the tuition my parents refused to help with because Ava deserves to pursue her passion at Beauty Academy. I thought of graduation day, when I received honors. They skipped the ceremony to attend Ava's photo shoot. I thought of my first real paycheck, the way I walked around the office smiling like I'd discovered a new universe. 2 days later, my parents called. "The mortgage is late. Your father's hours got cut. You need to cover it." I said yes. Of course I said yes. That was the role assigned to me long before I understood I had a right to say no. Wind rattled my car door. I inhaled again, deeper this time. My eyes were burning, not from tears but from complete and utter fatigue. My bones felt hollow. A new text buzzed. "Ava, Claire, send the money now. They said they'll cancel the decor if it's not paid by 5. I checked the time. 4:48. Of course. I opened my banking app, stared at the dwindling balance, a balance that should have been healthy, stable, comfortable given my CEO salary. But after years of sending rent, bills, emergency transfers, last-minute loans, and full-blown rescues, it wasn't. With a sigh that felt like surrender, I typed in the amount and watched $3,000 disappear with a tap. Payment successful. I tossed the phone into the passenger seat. It landed with a soft thud. My reflection in the rearview mirror startled me. I looked older. Not in the physical aging sense, but in a worn-out, threadbare way. Dark circles under my eyes. A tight jaw. Shoulders pulled up like armor I'd forgotten how to lower. "You did this to yourself," I whispered. "You let them use you." And it was true. I had let them. But tonight, something felt different. A crack in the system. A flicker of defiance buried beneath centuries of conditioning. I straightened, put the car back into drive, and merged onto the freeway again. Traffic thickened as I approached the downtown exit. The sun dipped behind the skyline, casting the city in molten gold. The Austin Grandview Hotel towered in the distance, glass reflecting streaks of amber and violet. As I parked near the entrance, my phone buzzed again. But this time there was something strange. A number I didn't recognize. Unknown. "You should watch your back. Some people don't want you at that meeting tomorrow." My breath hitched. Tomorrow's meeting. The $8 million partnership contract. The most important deal SentinelNet had ever been close to securing. A chill ran through me. Corporate sabotage? Competitor threat? An internal leak? No. I didn't have the energy to spiral. Not tonight. Not anymore. I shoved the phone into my clutch and stepped out of the car. Warm evening air washed over me. Laughter drifted from the open ballroom doors. Glittering guests arrived in pairs, linked arms, smiling brightly. I smoothed my navy dress, the one Ava would still find a reason to criticize, and walked toward the glowing entrance. Halfway across the lobby, my phone vibrated again. "Ava, don't talk about work tonight. Liam's family likes real accomplishments." I almost laughed, a bitter, hollow laugh that never made it past my lips. Then, as I approached the ballroom doors, another memory, sharp and brutal, rushed up like a punch to the stomach. I was 18. I saved $1,500 from 3 jobs to buy a used Ford Taurus. My first car. My ticket to college interviews. My father took the keys immediately. "Ava needs a car to get to her training classes." "That's not fair," I protested, but it never mattered. 2 weeks later, Ava crashed the car into a mailbox after a party. Drunk, uninjured, laughing, the car was totaled. My parents didn't yell at her, they yelled at me. "Why would you buy such a dangerous old car? You could have gotten her killed." I closed my eyes briefly, pushing that memory back down. The ballroom doors opened, releasing a wave of light and music. Inside, I saw Ava holding court, laughing, radiant, surrounded by admirers. Liam stood beside her, tall and handsome, the perfect fiancé for her curated image. I took one step closer, then my phone buzzed again. One message, but this one stopped me cold. "Ava, and Claire, don't make tonight about you. Stay in the background where you belong." My hand tightened around my clutch until my knuckles ached. Something in me shifted, a tiny fracture in a long-standing facade, a whisper of rebellion. But I pushed the feeling aside. Tonight wasn't the night to start a war. I was too tired, too stretched thin, too conditioned to keep the peace. So instead, I forced a neutral expression onto my face, lifted my chin, and stepped into the shimmering chaos. "Just get through the night," I muttered under my breath. "Just survive this one last time." But I didn't know, couldn't have known, that before this night ended, everything I believed about myself, my family, and my place in their world would shatter. Because the moment I entered the ballroom, under the chandeliers and murmuring crowd, Liam spotted me. And whatever story my family had told him, about who I was, what I did, and how little I mattered, was about to crumble in a single, breathtaking moment. I stood in the heart of SentinelNet's R&D floor, blinking against the harsh fluorescent lights that had begun to throb in rhythm with my pulse. My eyes burned from staring at monitors for too many hours in a row, and somewhere behind me, the refrigeration hum of the server racks buzzed like a swarm of mechanical bees. Engineers moved across the floor in hurried, stressed zigzags, voices overlapping with anxious questions. "Claire, should we lock version 3.6 or run another sandbox test?" "Claire, the anomaly detection module threw another edge case flag. Want me to disable it?" "Claire, the LiDAR integration for Phase 2, do we include it in the briefing?" Everything, everyone, all at once. I lifted a hand for silence. "One at a time, please." They froze, not out of fear, but respect, even exhausted, shoulders tense, hair pulled into a messy bun after long hours of coding. They trusted my judgment more than any algorithm in our system. "Run the sandbox test," I said. "Keep the anomaly flag, and integrate LiDAR as a bonus slide, not a deliverable." The room exhaled in unison. Another crisis diffused. But I was running on fumes. My legs felt like overcooked noodles. My hands shook whenever I reached for my coffee mug. I hadn't eaten since the previous morning. I didn't even remember driving to the office, just waking up at my desk after a 30-minute nap that felt like a hallucination. Lucas, my CTO, appeared at my side, pushing his glasses up the bridge of his nose. "Claire," he said softly, "you look like you're trying to keep the ocean from overflowing with a coffee mug." I forced a tired smile. That's basically my job description. He crossed his arms. "The board insists you present tomorrow, not me. Not the VP of engineering. They want the CEO, you." I winced. My headache flared at the exact mention of CEO. I hadn't built SentinelNet to perform on stage. I hadn't founded a tech company to give keynote speeches or charm investors or negotiate partnerships with billion-dollar corporations. I built it because I loved solving problems with code. I built it because my brain came alive when I could see patterns no one else noticed. I built it because the world needed better security systems, and I had the skills to create them. But being CEO required visibility. Spotlight, public speaking, endless meetings, things that drained me faster than any coding sprint. Still, I nodded. "I'll handle it," Lucas hesitated. "And Liam's corporation, they're not easy. Don't let their suits intimidate you." I gave a tired shrug. He won't see me coming. I didn't mean it as a threat. But the universe, apparently, had a different interpretation lined up. My phone buzzed again, vibrating violently on the desk. Another barrage of messages from Ava. Ava. Claire? The floral arch delivery is delayed. Fix it. Ava. And bring the cake. Don't screw it up like last time. Ava. And be on time. Liam hates slackers. My jaw clenched. How could someone need so much? She acted like the wedding planner was merely a decoration, and I was the real one doing the work. I deleted the notifications without opening them. Then more texts followed. Mom, make sure you wear something flattering tonight. Ava needs the night to be perfect. Dad, don't talk about work. Liam's family is successful. Don't embarrass us. Embarrass them. The only thing I'd ever done to embarrass them was exist in ways they didn't understand. I silenced my phone. Focus, I whispered to myself. You can deal with your family later. But no matter how many lines of code I reviewed, no matter how many simulations I ran, my mind kept drifting, backward. Back to a garage lit with a single fluorescent bulb, back to cold winter air stinging my arms, back to a homemade pull-up bar I'd installed to train for an early scholarship fitness program. I'd been 19. I gripped the metal bar, pulled myself up, and the bar snapped. I fell 8 feet onto the concrete floor, pain exploding through my arm. I remember the brutal crack, the jagged pain, the way my entire world narrowed into a tunnel. I had stumbled inside, clutching my arm, sobbing. Mom, I think it's broken. She had been curling Ava's hair for a dance recital. She didn't hang up the phone call she was on. Didn't look at my arm, didn't look at me. She simply sighed. Claire, I don't have time for your dramatics. Take the bus to the hospital. Don't drip blood on the carpet. The memory hit me like a hot blade, sharp and precise. It never mattered what I felt. It only mattered what Ava needed. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You won't get credit for tomorrow's deal. Someone is watching. My stomach tightened. Corporate sabotage? A competitor? An internal threat? Or just another creep trying to intimidate a female founder? I shoved the phone away. I had too many battles to fight already. The engineers called me again, asking for final approval on the updated threat detection node. I reviewed it carefully, clicked approve, and leaned back as the simulation began to run. On the screen, colored data points scattered across the map. Lines of code scrolled by, fluid as water. My eyes tracked every anomaly, every edge case variation, every deviation from predicted behavior. This was where I felt at home, not the ballroom, not the family drama, not the immaculate chaos of Ava's engagement party, but with each passing minute, the knot in my chest tightened. I was running out of time. You need to sleep, Lucas murmured. I can't. You'll collapse. I've collapsed before. He looked at me with something between concern and resignation. Then at least eat. I'll order something. But he didn't understand. My stomach was knotted tight. Eating felt impossible. I focused on the simulation. SentinelNet's AI flagged and neutralized a test intrusion with 99.2% accuracy. Success. I should have felt pride, relief, something. Instead, I felt numb. A half-hour later, I left the office, the world tilting slightly as I walked. My body was beyond tired. It was shutting down one piece at a time. The sky outside was streaked with orange and lavender as I got into my car. I turned the key and the engine hummed awake. I needed to shower, I needed to sleep. I needed a moment to myself, but I didn't have any. My phone buzzed. Ava. Did you pay the decor deposit? They said it's overdue. Ava. And pick up the cake. Mom. Claire, don't ruin this. Ava is very stressed. Dad. Your sister deserves this, Claire. Make the night smooth. There it was again. The lifelong mantra. Ava deserves. Ava deserves. Ava deserves. And what did I deserve? Silence, obligation, exhaustion. I drove home in a daze, the neon Austin skyline passing in blurry streaks. When I reached my apartment, I rested my head against the steering wheel again. For a long moment, I considered not going to the party, turning off my phone, ignoring the world, but I knew that if I didn't show up, If I didn't follow orders, I would become the villain in the family narrative. Ava would cry. My parents would blame me. They always did. So I forced myself upstairs, showered under scalding water, dressed in my navy gown, pulled my hair into something passable, slipped on heels that were a half size too small. And then I saw it. A notification from my bank. Transfer of $3,000 completed. I stared at the message for a long time. That money was supposed to go toward SentinelNet's legal fees this month, toward payroll buffer, toward my mortgage. But my family didn't know that. They didn't care. I took a breath, grabbed my clutch, and walked back to the car. As I drove toward the hotel, the city lights blurred like watercolor streaks. Exhaustion wrapped around me like a weighted blanket I couldn't remove. Another memory surfaced. Ava, 23, sobbing on my couch because she spent her entire paycheck on a designer purse and couldn't cover her rent. "I'm going to get evicted," she cried. "You have to help me." I had just gotten promoted to senior engineer. My salary wasn't huge, but stable. I transferred her the money, paid her rent. She posted online the next day about manifesting abundance. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. By the time I pulled up to the Austin Grandview Hotel, the sky had turned indigo. The entrance was lit with gold uplighting. Guests in glamorous outfits filtered through the doors with buzzing excitement. I parked, turned off the engine, and closed my eyes. I whispered, "Just get through the night." But something inside me whispered back, "No, tonight is the beginning." I stepped out of the car and walked inside. Warm golden light washed over me. Elegant decor, music, laughter, the smell of roses and expensive perfume. Ava's night. Always Ava's night. I moved toward the ballroom doors, heels tapping on the marble floor. Then my phone buzzed again. "Ava, remember, don't brag about work. Liam's family is real business people." I almost laughed, out loud, bitter, exhausted laughter that tasted of old hurt. I tucked the phone away. As I reached the ballroom doors, the last memory, sharpest, most painful, hit me. The night Ava called at 3 a.m, hysterical because her credit card had been flagged for fraud and her business venture deposit was due by dawn. She begged me to salvage it. I drained my emergency fund that night. $10,000. She posted the next day, "Thank you, universe, for providing." Not, "Thanks to Claire." Never thanks to Claire. I pushed the ballroom doors open. Music swelled, cameras flashed, guests turned. Ava stood in the center of the room, glowing under the chandelier. She spotted me instantly, scanned my dress, my hair, my face, and smirked. Behind her, Liam lifted his head. Our eyes met. And for the first time that entire exhausting, suffocating, disastrous day, I saw something unexpected in his expression. Recognition. But that moment, the one that would change everything, hadn't happened yet. Tonight my story hadn't exploded. Tonight was just the fuse. I felt the warmth of the ballroom lights press against my skin the moment I stepped inside, like a soft hand pushing me forward into a world where I didn't belong. Crystal chandeliers scattered flecks of gold across polished marble floors. A string quartet played near the far wall, elegant and effortless. Guests floated about in sequined gowns and tailored suits, clinking champagne glasses as if joy were a language everyone spoke fluently, everyone except me. I hovered near the entrance for a moment, trying to slow my breath. I was already running on fumes, and stepping into this room felt like walking into a stage play where I'd been cast last minute with no script. The scent of roses, truffle oil, and too expensive perfume mixed with the metallic tang of my anxiety. Then I saw Ava. She stood in the center of the ballroom, radiant in a white silk gown that shimmered like liquid pearl. Her hair was perfectly curled, her makeup flawless, and she looked every inch the poster child for a lifestyle she never earned. Laughing, she tossed her hair back as she held court, surrounded by friends, bridesmaids, and even strangers who found themselves orbiting her self-proclaimed glow. She spotted me before I was ready. Her eyes slid from my face to my dress, then to the clutch in my hand. Her expression shifted, first subtle surprise, then immediate irritation, as if my mere presence had thrown her universe off balance. She excused herself from the circle of admirers with a theatrical smile, then walked toward me in sharp, quick steps that clicked across the marble floor. "Claire," she hissed the moment she was close enough, her smile melting away into a tight-lipped grimace. "What are you wearing?" I looked down at my navy gown. It was simple, elegant, understated, but I had chosen it because it made me feel comfortable, not flashy. "It's appropriate for the event," I said quietly. Ava gave a humorless laugh. "It's appropriate for a tax seminar. This is an engagement party, not a corporate retreat." I swallowed hard. The old instinct surged. The urge to apologize, to shrink, to make myself smaller so she wouldn't feel threatened. But I forced my chin up. "You asked me to be here," I said softly. She rolled her eyes. "Yeah, but I didn't ask you to suck all the joy out of the room." I flinched. Have you ever noticed how some words don't just hurt? They echo? Ava's voice had that effect on me. I felt every syllable land like a tiny blade. She leaned closer. "And please don't embarrass me tonight. Liam's family doesn't need to hear about your coding hobby." Coding hobby. The words hit me harder than they should have. After a decade of building systems, founding a tech company, filing patents, and negotiating partnerships, that was still the label she chose. I was a toy, a typing robot, a convenient wallet that spat out cash. Her smile sharpened. "Just stay quiet. Blend in. Do what you do best. No one will even notice you." Before I could respond, she straightened and waved for someone behind me. "Mom, Dad, Claire finally showed up." Finally. As if I were late. As if I hadn't spent the day putting out fires for her. As if I hadn't transferred thousands of dollars hours earlier to fix problems she created. My parents rushed over, looking me up and down. My mother sighed dramatically. "Claire, honey, could you at least have brushed your hair? You look tired." "I worked late," I murmured. She patted my arm like she was consoling a child. "Well, tonight is about Ava. Try not to make things weird." My father gave a stiff nod. "You know how she gets when you take attention off her." I blinked. "I haven't said anything." "You don't have to say anything," my father said sharply. "Just don't start your tech talk. Liam's family are real business people. They won't understand what you do." I felt myself shrinking again. Real business people. Implicit translation. I wasn't one. Before I could reply, someone approached behind me, a deep voice, polite and warm. "Ava, is this your sister?" I turned, and there he was, Liam, tall, confident, dressed in a charcoal suit that fit too well to be off the rack. His dark hair was neatly styled, his tie subtly patterned. He had the polished posture of someone used to speaking in boardrooms and commanding attention without trying. He smiled at me, a genuine smile, before Ava slid between us like a curtain. "This is Claire," she said brightly. "My older sister. She works in an office." Liam extended his hand. "Nice to meet you, Claire." I shook it. His grip was firm, professional. Before I could introduce myself properly, Ava chimed in again. "She types things, emails, reports, stuff like that. She's very organized." She laughed lightly. "Right, Claire?" My cheeks burned. My heart thudded against my ribs. Liam's brow creased slightly as if something didn't add up, but Ava immediately shifted the topic, pulling him away. "Come on, babe. The photographer needs us." They left without waiting for me. I stood there alone in a sea of glittering people, surrounded by laughter I wasn't invited into. But I wasn't the only one watching them. Near the bar, a suited man with graying hair stood perfectly still, observing me with quiet interest. I recognized him instantly. Richard Wolff, CFO of Wolff Dynamics. A man with a reputation for being sharp, calculating, and intolerant of nonsense. He nodded at me once, acknowledging me like an equal. It startled me, He definitely wasn't looking at me the way Ava and my parents did. Not like I was lesser. But before I could approach him, a familiar hand grabbed my elbow. My mother. "Claire," she whispered urgently, "the cake. Please tell me you picked it up." "Yes," I said, "it's in my car." She exhaled in relief. "Good. Ava would have had a meltdown." Then she leaned closer. "And Claire, please don't make tonight about you. You know how sensitive Ava is." I felt the corner of my vision burn. My life had been a series of don'ts. Don't talk too much. Don't draw attention. Don't overshadow your sister. Don't take up space. My mother hurried away before I could respond. I stood there, surrounded by diamonds, champagne, and soft jazz, yet I felt invisible, like a ghost pressed against glass. Guests circulated around me. I heard whispers. "Is that the sister? She's the one who still rents an apartment, right? I heard she works some cubicle job. She looks exhausted." Every whisper prickled under my skin. I made my way toward the bar, needing a moment to breathe. The bartender, a young guy with warm brown eyes, offered a sympathetic smile. "Rough night?" "You have no idea," I murmured. He poured a glass of sparkling water and slid it to me. "On the house." I sipped it slowly, focusing on the bubbles fizzing against my tongue. It grounded me. Then sharp heels approached, Ava again. She leaned her elbows against the bar, smiling sweetly at the bartender. "Can you get me another glass of the Cabernet? The expensive one?" Before he moved, she shot me a glare. "And Claire, could you not hog the bar? You're blocking guests." I stepped aside. Ava's smile sharpened. "Thanks." She lifted the wine glass, swirled it gently, then looked me up and down again. "You really chose navy?" she said. "It washes you out, and the neckline is just sad." My voice scraped its way out. "Ava, please just enjoy your night." She rolled her eyes. "I will, as long as you don't ruin it." Then she leaned closer, her breath smelling like expensive grapes. "You always do, though." The words sliced. She swirled her wine once more, then turned abruptly, and collided with a passing guest. Red liquid sloshed dangerously close to the rim. For a split second I saw her eyes light with mischief. She turned back toward me. "Ugh, Claire," she said loudly, "don't stand so close." And before I could react, she tilted the glass just enough. Reds splashed, not on my dress, not yet, but close enough that my heart stopped. Close enough that everyone nearby gasped. Close enough that I understood exactly what she wanted. Power, dominance, a scene. "You need to be more careful," Ava said sweetly. "We wouldn't want you staining that budget-friendly dress." My pulse thudded so loudly I could barely hear the music anymore. But before she could deliver the finishing blow, before she could dump that wine onto me like she had so many symbolic buckets over the years, someone stepped forward. Someone who hadn't appeared to notice me earlier. Someone who suddenly looked very, very aware. Liam. He stared at us, at the wine, at Ava's posture, at my clenched jaw. Something flashed in his expression. Concern? Confusion? Recognition? I couldn't tell. But I saw it. The moment the first crack formed in the porcelain facade Ava had built for him. "Everything okay here?" he asked slowly. Ava snapped into innocence mode. "Of course, I was just telling Claire to be more mindful. She almost made me spill." That was a lie. Everyone saw it. Everyone. But the room moved on, drifting away like gossip carried on a breeze. My stomach twisted. I excused myself before I said something I couldn't take back. I walked toward the hallway, away from the ballroom noise. My heels clicked against the tile in uneven patterns. The further I got from the music, the clearer my thoughts became. And the more I understood something deep, painful, and honest. I no longer wanted to survive nights like this. No, I was done surviving them. Standing at the far end of the hall, near a quiet alcove, I braced my hands against the wall and inhaled. In the silence, I heard a voice. "Claire?" I turned. Liam stood a few feet away, his expression no longer casual, no longer polite, no longer neutral. It was focused, intent, like gears turning in his mind. He walked closer. "I didn't know you were Ava's sister." "Well," I murmured, "she doesn't exactly advertise me." He nodded slowly. "She told me you worked an admin job." "Of course she did." He hesitated. "But earlier, I think I recognized you." My pulse tripped. This was it, the beginning, the first ripple of the future that would break Ava's universe apart. He studied me with growing clarity, like someone replaying an image in their mind until it sharpened into something unmistakable. "You're Claire Morgan," he said finally, "the CEO of SentinelNet." The hallway felt suddenly too small, too bright, too sharp, before I could respond, before I could deny or confirm anything. The look on his face changed again. He froze. Completely. Then, he stood straighter, like a soldier recognizing a commanding officer. And somewhere deep in my gut, I understood. Ava's carefully curated world was about to implode, and I hadn't even touched the fuse yet. Liam didn't move at first. He stood there in the hallway, eyes locked on mine, his expression shifting with each second. Curiosity, dawning realization, and then something sharper, something that made my stomach twist into knots. Respect. The kind I rarely saw outside boardrooms, the kind I never saw inside my family. He swallowed hard. "You're Claire Morgan." Not a question, a confirmation. My throat tightened. I forced my voice to stay level. "Yes." He exhaled, a quiet sound of disbelief. "The Claire Morgan who founded SentinelNet." A beat. "I thought Ava's sister worked in admin." My jaw clenched. "That's what she tells people." He ran a hand through his hair, visibly recalibrating everything he thought he knew. "I've read your white papers. Your anomaly detection algorithm? We use it in 3 of our branches. And the predictive risk model, my God, we've been trying to reverse engineer it for months." Heat crept up my neck. Not embarrassment, fatigue, discomfort. I wasn't used to admiration. Not directed at me. Not spoken so openly. "I didn't expect to see you here," he said softly. "And definitely not like—" He gestured vaguely, as if he couldn't find the right words. "Like this. Like a scolded child standing in a hallway, hiding from her own family." I straightened, pulling my shoulders back. "This is Ava's night. I didn't want to overshadow anything." He blinked. "You think your presence would overshadow her?" I didn't answer. He didn't need one. Before either of us could speak again, a sharp voice cut through the hallway. "Babe, there you are!" Ava's heels clattered toward us like warning signals. Her eyes snapped from Liam to me, and instantly her expression soured. "Why are you talking to Claire?" she demanded. Liam didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't smile. He studied her for a long moment before speaking. "I was asking her about her work." Ava scoffed. "Oh, please, she just does typing. It's not worth talking about. Come on, we need pictures." She reached for him. He didn't budge. Instead, he looked at her so quietly, so intensely, that Ava's hand fell back to her side. "Ava," he said slowly, "what exactly have you told me about your sister?" She blinked. "That she works in an office. And that she's not really career-focused." Ava waved dismissively. "She does spreadsheets or whatever. She's smart, but not business smart." Liam turned his gaze to me. Something flickered behind his eyes. A silent apology for the lie he now saw unraveling. He looked back at Ava. "Your sister is the CEO of SentinelNet." Ava laughed, loud, shrill, too loud for the nearly empty hallway. "Liam, don't joke like that. Claire, CEO, she can barely handle her rent." "Rent I paid with the money she drained." "Ava," he said again, slower now, "Claire's company is the one I'm meeting tomorrow." Finally, the color drained from her face. "That meeting?" she whispered. "The $8 million deal," Liam confirmed. Ava's smile twitched. No, that must be a mistake. Claire could never— What do you think I do? I said quietly. Ava turned on me with the speed of a hunting falcon. You're lying. I lifted an eyebrow. You think I'd lie about this? Her jaw tightened. Why didn't you tell us? Because you don't ask, I said softly. You've never asked. Her face twisted, the first crack forming in her mask. So what? You're some big tech genius now. Since when? I could have answered. Since the day you stole my first laptop. Since I learned no one would come rescue me. Since I stopped waiting for anyone to believe in me. But I didn't say anything. Liam's silence spoke louder than mine. Ava's breathing grew quick and erratic, like the walls were closing in. Liam, come on, let's go. She's making it up. She's not, he said. Ava stiffened. How do you know? Because I recognize her. How? Ava demanded, voice shrill now. Liam looked at me again, and the weight of his recognition pressed between us. Because she's the woman who built the algorithm we've been trying to license for 2 years. Ava's eyes widened. I don't understand. No, she never did. She only understood what benefited her. This is ridiculous, she snapped, stepping closer. Claire isn't better than me. She's not. She never has been. Her insecurity spilled out like poison, and then, the moment I had known was coming all night arrived. She raised her wine glass, tilting it with that same vicious intent I had seen earlier, the same childish tactic she used as a teenager when she wanted to cause a scene. Maybe this will help bring you back to reality, she hissed. She swung. I didn't move. I didn't fight. I didn't grab the glass or block her wrist. The red liquid arced through the air, bright, violent, inevitable, and then it hit me. Cold splashed across my chest. My dress soaked instantly. Wine dripped down my arms, my neckline, the curves of my gown. It splattered across the marble, staining the pristine floor. Gasps echoed down the hallway. Ava froze, eyes wide, breathing fast. This time, no one misunderstood what happened. This wasn't an accident. This was an attack. Liam inhaled sharply. Ava, what the hell is wrong with you? She stared at her empty glass, then at me, then back at Liam. She made me. She always makes me. No, he snapped. She didn't make you do anything. Ava's lip trembled. I'm your fiancé. You're supposed to defend me. He looked at me instead. Claire, are you okay? I couldn't find words. My voice was trapped under years of silence. I wiped a drop of wine from my cheek with a trembling hand. Ava saw that tremble, and she smiled, a small, cruel smile of triumph. She thought she'd won, ruined my dress, my dignity, my night, like countless times before. She didn't know the world had shifted already. She didn't know she had already lost, because Liam wasn't looking at her with love. He was looking at her with disgust. Go apologize, he said, voice low. To her? Ava shrieked. Absolutely not. She should apologize to me for ruining my day. She stood there, he snapped. So, she always stands there. She's like a shadow, like a mistake that keeps tagging along. My breath hitched. Liam's face hardened. I can't believe you said that. Ava's entire persona cracked. I won't let her ruin my life. She's about to sign a deal that will help our company grow, he said sharply. She's one of the most brilliant engineers in the country. She's pathetic, Ava screamed, stepping toward me. Pathetic, pathetic. Liam's voice cut through her tantrum like a blade. Ava, stop. She froze mid-breath. The hallway fell silent. Only one sound echoed. The slow drip of wine sliding from the hem of my dress onto the marble floor. Liam turned fully toward me. Then, he did something I never expected. He stood straighter, shoulders back, chin lifted. Posture shifting into military precision. And then, he saluted me, crisp, sharp, respectful. Ava's jaw dropped open. What are you doing? She shrieked. He didn't break his stance. Claire, he said, voice steady, I owe you an apology. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know what you've built. And I definitely didn't know the way your family treats you. My throat tightened so painfully I nearly choked on the air. He lowered his hand. "Ava," he said without looking at her, "the engagement is off." The words echoed down the hallway like a gunshot. Ava screamed, a sound so raw and animalistic it made several guests peek around the corner. "You can't do that. You can't leave me. Claire made you do this." Liam faced her with icy calm. "Claire did nothing. You humiliated her. You lied to me. You demeaned your own sister in front of everyone." Ava's screams pitched higher. "She's not my sister anymore." My heart cracked, but Liam's reply was colder. "After tonight, she certainly won't be." Ava lunged toward him, grabbing his arm. He stepped back, firm, final. "We're done," he said. "I won't marry a woman who treats people, especially family, with that level of cruelty." He turned to me again, voice lower now. "I'll see you at tomorrow's meeting, if you'll still consider working with us." I nodded once, and for the first time in a long while, I felt seen, not as a wallet, not as a scapegoat, not as background noise, but as a woman with worth. Ava's sobs became hysterical. Guests gathered, murmuring. My parents rushed over, looking horrified, at me. Not at Ava, who caused the scene. Not at the wine dripping from my dress. At me. My mother grabbed my wrist. "Claire, fix this," my father hissed. "Go apologize to Liam. Beg him to reconsider." For Ava. Always for Ava. I pulled my wrist out of their grasp. "No." They blinked. "What do you mean, no?" My mother spat. "Look at what you've done." "I didn't do anything," I said quietly. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to explain further. I turned away. Liam gave me one last nod, respectful, steady, before walking out. Ava collapsed onto the floor, surrounded by her dress like a white puddle. My parents rushed to her, and I stood there drenched in wine, breathing in the quiet destruction of the moment, not with shame, but with clarity. Tonight wasn't a nightmare, it was an awakening. And everything that came next would be mine. I walked away from the ballroom like someone moving underwater, every sound muffled, every breath thick, every heartbeat echoing against my ribs. My dress clung cold and sticky to my skin, the scent of Cabernet rising like a ghost from every thread. The hallway lights shimmered in long streaks, blurring at the edges. I felt hollow and weightless at the same time, as if someone had scooped out everything inside me and left only the shape of a woman behind. But even through the haze, one truth cut clean and sharp. I was done being their ATM. I was done being their punching bag. I was done being invisible. I pushed through the hotel's side exit, letting the cool night air slap against my overheated skin. The city hummed around me, traffic, chatter, music spilling from rooftop bars. But it felt like a world I hadn't belonged to in years. A world I'd traded for responsibility, sacrifice, and silence. My phone buzzed again and again in my clutch. I ignored it. When I reached my car, I opened the door with trembling hands and sat inside without turning the engine on. I dropped my clutch onto the passenger seat, where it thudded softly, muffled by the leather. For a long moment I just sat, breathing, processing. And then, like a poison hitting the bloodstream all at once, the memories rushed in. Not gentle, not slow, violent, unforgiving. I rested my head against the steering wheel, and for the first time in hours, maybe in years, I let myself remember everything in order. The debts, the drained accounts, the birthdays forgotten, the emergencies that were never mine but always mine to fix, the rent payments, the late-night phone calls, the guilt trips, the manipulation, the times they told me, "You're strong, Claire. Ava is delicate. Ava needs you." Until delicate turned into selfish. Until selfish turned into cruel, and cruel turned into normal. I closed my eyes as one memory anchored itself above all others. Senior year of high school. The night everything changed. I had won a scholarship competition, a big one. Enough to cover nearly all my tuition at the engineering school I dreamed of attending. I came home clutching the acceptance letter, practically vibrating with excitement. My life had felt like it was just beginning. Dad sat at the dining table, deep in bills. Mom was folding laundry. Ava was sprawled out on the couch, painting her nails. "I got it," I announced, beaming. "I really got it." Dad didn't look up. "Got what?" "My tuition scholarship. I can go to university, the one in Seattle." He finally lifted his head, eyebrows pulled together. "Seattle?" "That's far," Mom added, frowning. Ava snorted. "You? Seattle? That's hilarious." I clutched the letter tighter. "I worked for this. I earned this." Mom sighed dramatically, the kind she saved for moments she wanted control back. "Claire, honey, your father and I were talking." My stomach dropped. "About what?" "The scholarship." "What about it?" "We need it for Ava." The room tilted. I remember the sound I made. Soft, confused, fragile. "For Ava?" Mom gave me that patronizing smile she'd perfected over the years. "She wants to do the Dance Academy program. You know how much she's wanted that." "But she didn't apply," I whispered. "She didn't need to," Dad said. "Your scholarship can help her." "It's all family money anyway." I stared at them in disbelief. "It's not family money. I earned it." Ava rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. You're good at school. You'll get another one." "You didn't even try," I whispered. She shrugged. "I don't need to. You're the smart one. Help me out." Help her. Help her. Help her. It was the beginning of everything. The night they took my future and emptied it into hers without hesitation. They never gave it back. Even when Ava dropped out of the academy after 6 months, it wasn't her passion anymore. They didn't apologize. They didn't acknowledge it. They just expected me to move on, to find another way, to carry the burden, the blame, the weight. And I did. Because back then, I still believed that family meant something unbreakable. Now, dripping wine and humiliation in a hotel parking lot, I realized family was only unbreakable when everyone held the same rope. My family had let go of my end years ago. My phone buzzed again. Then again. Then again. I finally lifted it, thumb hovering above the screen. 28 missed calls. 14 from Mom, 8 from Dad, 6 from Ava. I didn't listen to any of them. Instead, I scrolled through the text messages, each one more frantic and aggressive than the last. "Mom, how could you humiliate your sister?" "Mom, come back inside right now." "Mom, fix this before the guests leave." "Dad, Claire, get back here, talk to Liam, explain it." "Dad, don't ruin this family." "Ava, you stole my night." "Ava, you ruined everything like you always do." "Ava, come fix this or we are done. Done." The word rang hollow. We had been done long before tonight. I didn't reply. I didn't defend myself. I didn't apologize. Instead, I opened my banking app. I looked at the most recent outgoing transactions. $3,000 decor payment, $100 emergency rehearsal dinner bill, $600 Ava's urgent electric bill, $250 dress steaming for Ava, $900 medical bill. Ava forgot to pay $2,400 cash withdrawal Dad said was for something important. The numbers stacked like gravestones. My entire adult life laid out in silent, crisp digital lines. I stared at the total outgoing monthly support. Almost $7,000. $7,000. More than half my monthly income. Money I could have invested. Money I could have saved. Money I could have used to build my own life. But instead I funded theirs. For years. Without thanks. Without acknowledgement. Without love. I closed the app, chest hollowing out again. Then I called someone I never thought I'd call at this hour. My corporate attorney. He answered on the second ring, voice groggy. "Claire, everything okay?" "No," I said quietly. "I need you to draft a notice." "Work-related?" "No, personal." He paused. "All right, what kind of notice?" "A cease and desist." Silence. "Ava?" he asked. "No," I said. "My parents, too." And for the first time ever, the words didn't make me feel guilty. They made me feel free. After we ended the call, I sat still for several moments, letting the weight of the decision settle into me until it began to feel like something new. Strength. The tightness in my chest loosened, replaced by something warm and startling. Relief. I turned the key in the ignition. The engine hummed awake. I pulled out of the parking lot, leaving the glitter and music and shattered illusions behind me. As I drove through the city, headlights streaked across my windshield like shooting stars. Every red light felt like a checkpoint. Every green light felt like permission. I wasn't driving away from something. I was driving toward a future that finally belonged to me. When I reached a quiet stretch of highway, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't family. It was my CTO, Lucas. "Are you okay? You left the office so fast." I typed back, "I'm fine." And for once, it wasn't a lie. Another message appeared. "We need you bright tomorrow, boss. The meeting is big." I smiled faintly. Yes, tomorrow is important. Important for me, for SentinelNet, for my future. Then a third message came through from someone I didn't expect. "Liam, I'm sorry for what happened tonight. You didn't deserve that." I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Then I typed a single reply. "Thank you." And nothing else. No explanation, no apology, no justifying my existence. I drove the rest of the way home in silence, soaking in the calm like medicine. When I finally reached my building, I carried my shoes in my hand and took the elevator up barefoot, wine-drenched gown trailing behind me like shed skin. Inside my condo, I locked the door. Then I blocked my mother. Then my father. Then Ava. I stood there, phone heavy in my hand, heart thudding quietly in my chest. I expected to feel fear, or sadness, or guilt. Instead, I felt nothing but peace. The kind of peace you only get after ripping a thorn out of your skin that's been lodged there for years. I peeled off the ruined gown, dropped it in the bathtub, and stepped into the shower. Hot water hit my shoulders, running down my back, mixing pink streaks of diluted wine as it flowed down the drain. With every drop that slid off me, something heavy slipped away too. Burden, obligation, fear, and somewhere deep inside, a spark lit, small, steady, growing. Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow I would walk into that boardroom not as the family disappointment, not as the wallet, not as the forgotten daughter. Tomorrow I would walk in as myself. Claire Morgan, CEO, engineer, founder, and no one, not Ava, not my parents, not anyone, would ever put me back into the shadows again. By the time I stepped into the SentinelNet lobby the next morning, the memory of the engagement party was still clinging to me like smoke after a house fire. I felt it in the stiffness of my shoulders, in the quiet ache behind my eyes, in the phantom weight of red wine still soaking through the neckline of my dress, even though I had washed it away hours ago. But beneath the remnants of humiliation was something far more powerful. Clarity. The lobby was unusually busy. Engineers hurried across the polished floor, balancing laptops and coffees. The front desk phones rang with back-to-back calls. Voices mingled with the soft hum of the security gates. Yet everything felt strangely distant, like I was walking through a movie set instead of the company I had built from the ashes of 1,000 late nights. A few team members looked up when I walked in. Their faces softened with something almost like relief. I wondered briefly if they could sense it. Something shifting inside me, something sharpening. "Good morning, Claire," the receptionist called, her voice warm. "The conference room is being set up for the partnership briefing." "Thank you," I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. As I walked toward the elevators, Lucas half jogged out from the hallway, pushing his glasses up with the back of his hand. "Oh, thank God you're here," he breathed. "I thought you might call out sick after yesterday." "Yesterday," I stiffened. "How did you—" He paused, then lowered his voice. "The dress, in the bathtub." I groaned. I had forgotten the cleaning staff sometimes came early. I was going to throw it out. "Good," he said flatly. "Anything that expensive and that ruined deserves a dignified burial." A laugh escaped me, unexpected, rough around the edges. "It's just a dress." "No," he said, squinting at me. "It was evidence, crime scene material." I laughed again despite myself, and the tension in my chest loosened for the first time in hours. Lucas wasn't just a good CTO, he was one of the few people I trusted with the pieces of me I usually kept locked away. He walked beside me toward the elevators. "Look, I don't know what happened last night, but you don't have to carry it alone." I stepped inside the elevator. "Thank you, but I'm fine." He gave me a long look. "You always say that." The doors closed. On the fourth floor, engineers were clustered around the glass-walled conference room. Several of them straightened as I approached, turning anxious eyes toward me. "Claire," one of them said, "we tested version 3.6 again. The anomaly detection module stabilized overnight." "Good," I said, shifting into CEO mode. "What about the integration demo?" "A few jitter issues," another admitted, "but nothing we can't smooth out before the meeting." "Great. Keep the visuals clean and the numbers honest. No theatrics." They nodded, energized by the simplicity of direction. Inside my office, sunlight streamed across my desk, catching the edges of a half-finished architecture flowchart. I sat down, letting the familiar comfort of my space wash over me. Screens, notes, prototypes, the organized chaos that didn't ask anything of me except brilliance. As I opened my laptop, a soft knock came at the door. "Come in." Richard Wolff stepped inside. For a moment, I just stared at him. CFO of Wolff Dynamics.